Welcome to the Wood Turning Workshop. Today we're going to revisit one of my favorite projects, and that's turning a goblet. But we're going to step it up a notch by adding captive rings. It's not as tough as it looks. Stay tuned.
The Wood Turning Workshop is made possible in part by
Woodcraft since 1928, providing traditional and modern woodworking tools and supplies to generations of craftsmen. Woodcraft, helping you make wood work.
Easy Wood Tools, offering a full line of wood turning tools with replaceable carbide cutters.
Well, this goblet is actually a wedding goblet, and these rings have a story behind them. And you'll find many different versions of it on the internet, but our buddy Bob Fulton made us a few examples here and loaned me his description that he uses. And he calls it a Scandinavian wedding goblet. And it is said that when a lad and his lady are to be married in the far north of Europe, one of their friends makes them a wedding goblet with two rings to represent the boy and the girl. Legend has it, as long as the captured rings remain intact, the marriage will remain intact. That's kind of a sweet story. But if you think about it, if you go to a wedding, it's kind of a neat gift to give too, and they'll cherish this their entire life. Now, Bob made us a few examples here out of some different wood, which are nice, but he really has me curious on this one. I'm not sure what the hope is for the marriage on this one. But you know Bob, he's a little guy, but he does things big all the time. This is a cool project because making a goblet's simple for a beginning turner, and then learning how to do rings is just one step up. And I have a 3-inch thick block of walnut right here, and I'm just going to cross between here on this edge and to this edge, and this helps me find the center point of the block. That way when I go to my drive center, I have that mark, and that helps me center things up. But this block's also about 8 inches long, and walnut is a good wood to use because it's really beautiful once you put a finish on it. And most wood will hold up to being used for drinking. I mean, they will put wine in this at the wedding and drink out of it, which is pretty cool. Whoops, knew I forgot something. I need my drive center. So we'll get that. Okay, we got that started. That'll work pretty good. Okay. I'm just going to put this between centers, and we're going to rough this out first. So lock down our tailstock. Bring that in. Okay. Make sure everything flows right. Bring our tool rest up to just a little bit below center. And line it up so it's parallel with the ways of the lathe. And see, we've got a little bump there. That's why you always want to rotate this first, so you don't start it and have it hit that thing. That'd be a big problem. Okay, now that's rolling real good. If I can find my safety glasses, we'll start roughing this out. There we go. The tools we'll be using today are a roughing gouge, a large spindle gouge, a small spindle gouge, a badan, a small parting tool, a special captive ring cutter, a round nose scraper, a boring tool, and a hollowing tool. Start your lathe off always at a slow speed, and make sure you have your start and stop controller near you in case you need it. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, if you're a beginner at turning, you want to start roughing from the center and work your way to the edge because it's a safer cut. If you've been turning for quite a while or more experience, you'll feel more comfortable coming to this end and working your way all the way down. And either way you want to do it is fine with me, just be careful. If you're a beginner and you start this cut, you might catch that edge and get a catch and roll a tool. So after a little bit of practice, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, that's nice and smooth. And I want to grab my badan tool that I put a bevel on that matches the bevel on the jaws that I have in my chuck jaws. So we'll come in here and just take a little bit of wood off at a time, like so. Oops. You can see the angle I've ground in there. That helps me match up my jaws. And I'm also cutting in at a little bit of an angle that way. And let's see here. I've got my calipers right here. Just make sure I'm about the right diameter. Oh, good enough. That is perfect. So we'll take that off there now. And we're going to switch over to our chuck. Chucks are very, very handy to have because they can grab wood in a lot of different ways where you don't have to use a faceplate or anything like that. And they kind of revolutionized wood turning when they came out, making it so much easier to do all sorts of different projects. When you get a chuck, make sure you get one that is the right size for your lathe. This one is way too big for a mini lathe. It's about 8 pounds. And if you get one that big for your little lathe, it might start walking across the shop on you real fast. But the old gray beast here can handle 8 pounds easily. So anyway, as this goes in, you can see the dovetail fits or matches the dovetail I put on the tenon. So that goes in there, and then when it grabs it really tightly. And this is really tough to see, but if you look down this gap, you can see that the wood is not touching the bottom. You don't want that to bottom out or you'll have a really bad grip at that point. It'll flop out really fast. So what we want to start doing now is to just start shaping the goblet itself on the outside. And you can bring your tailstock up for a little bit of support here for these cuts. So obviously nothing's hitting, it's nice and round. We'll turn that on, grab my glasses, and we're going to go with our really big regular grind spindle gouge. And we're just going to start shaping that, well, let me look at it here. Yeah, well, first thought that came to mind was a spittoon, tulip shape. I think that's a better way to describe it. So we're going to start like this, making this shape, because this is going to lie down on the wood just like that right there. And we just want to get the outside shape started, and then we're going to have to hollow out the bell of the tulip. So this is just like anything else. When you remount in a chuck, it'll be a little bit out of round. So you just want to come and make a light passing cut that smooths it out, because you can, it's bumping a little bit, now it's smooth. So any cut I start now will be nice and smooth. And I just want to make a nice little cove. So I start here, I swing the tool like so, and start making that cove shape. Take a little bit of wood at a time. And you can see I'm going what we call downhill. I'm going from the high part down inside. That way I don't tear the grain out as I make this move. It makes the cut nice and clean. And then the next part is we want to make the bell over to here like so. And I'm just rolling and lifting the tool as I do that. So it's just one movement with the whole body. Roll the tool, lift the handle, and then you swing with it. And you can take away some of the excess wood here, but we don't want to take off a lot because we're going to use that for our rings in a minute. Okay, just cleaning up the face and leaving a little dimple there with my little spindle gouge. And we're going to drill a hole in this now to help us with the hollowing. And this is a cool little tool I have right here. It's a boring bar that you can hold by hand, and it just looks like an arrowhead point. And I already went ahead and measured the depth that I want to go into this so I don't go through the bottom. Start this up. We're going to bring the speed down a little bit because it's drilling. And I put that little dimple in here to help center this up, and so when I put this up here, it finds the center fairly well. So anyway, we bring this up. We got the point going in the hole just like we wanted, and we simply just push in. And see how slick that is? Cuts a nice hole. And just bring it out, clear the chips, keep going in. And see it's getting a little wobbly because it's a little bit off center, but that's okay, it doesn't hurt anything. What we want to do is get rid of this center because that's the hardest thing to get out when you're hollowing. So there we go. Okay, okay, that worked out pretty good. We'll stop this now. And I never said I was really accurate, but it did work. Okay, we've got our tool rest set a little bit below center height because I'm going to go a little bit old school. We've been using a lot of carbide tip cutters this season, but still, these scraper tip, high-speed scraper tip hollowers are still very viable and do a great job when you're hollowing. This one is just a real straight bar. And I want this to be right about center height start this up. Keep that back away from it and bring the speed up. I'm going to bring it in and just gently swing it like so. See how that cuts? Really nice. So we just go back and forth like this. Now the cool thing is on this rig, it actually looks like the handle is part of a crutch. And the way it's designed, if you look all the way back here where my hand is on my right arm, it comes down and it goes underneath. Well, my arm makes a straight, whoops, I quit hitting that. My arm makes a straight line like this, so it takes all the bumping and jumping that happens sometimes when you're doing hollowing. But anyway, I'm going to rough this out and get rid of the excess wood. But while I'm doing that, it's time for your turn. Terry from Oklahoma sent an email asking about should I wear face protection, and if so, what should I wear and when? Well, you have goggles and you have a face shield. If you're a new turner, I highly recommend wearing a face shield. It gives you protection, and once you get experience, you'll learn when you should wear the goggles. But they do provide different levels of protection, so let me demonstrate. When I need to protect just my eyes, well, goggles are great for that. See?
Got a deal for.
However, if you need, not yet, protect your whole face,
I missed like.
well, you can wear a face mask. You can also get people who can throw better than that. Because we can only do this shot once. So I hope that answers any questions you have about when you should wear goggles or a face mask. Oh man, the things we do. Okay, now I'm using my round nose scraper here to clean up the inside of the goblet. If you get any vibration, just put your finger on the lip here and that'll help you out. So very light touches. You're gonna sand this, but you wanna get as much, or get that as smooth as possible. This is pretty cool on this tool because usually you want a longer handle when you scrape that deeply. But you can see right here, that's a negative rake. It angles down a little bit. You did that on my grinder. So it takes away the aggressiveness of the cut so it doesn't want to get ripped out of your hands while you're cutting. Well, the inside looks pretty good, I think. A little air here. Yes, that looks nice. So, turn off our light. Oh, that's blinding me. And we want to start shaping the base of the tulip, let's call it that, a little bit. So to remove away some of the wood, so we can then start making the rings. So I'm putting this a little bit below center height again, and I'm going to go with my small spindle gouge with a regular grind on it. And we'll just whittle away a little bit of this wood. Bring the speed back up a little bit more. Okay, it looks good. And I just want to establish the base of the tulip here. And that's pretty good. I'm just going to use this to get some of the wood out of the way. And you can see I'm not rolling or anything. I've got the angle set that I need, so I'm just kind of going in there nice and straight. Come in here a little bit, go smooth. Now the tulip itself is probably about, I don't know, a 1/4 inch thick at most, but no thinner either, because if you drink out of this, you don't want the wood to be so thin that the liquid will seep through the pores of the wood. Okay, just taking my parting tool here, making a little straight edge. Now we want to start making the rings. And so the rings are actually sitting right about here in the raw wood. So we're going to get the first ring going and get it separated out. So we're going to have to clear out a little bit of extra wood because we don't want the rings to be so wide that they can actually come off the goblet when we're done. So we'll knock the wood down. That looks pretty good right there. Okay. So I'm going to start making a bead here. So we just start rolling over. Roll. Get the get going, roll and lift the tool. Come in there. We're going to have to cut a little bit uphill to get rid of some of that excess wood there. There we go. We're going to roll again. And then we're going to repeat this on the other side. And I'm going to use my parting tool right here to help me clear out a little bit extra wood to make this cut easier. You have lots of area to work with here to make your beads, so if you mess up, don't worry, you got a little bit of space left. We'll roll over here. I would say the first beads you make, you might want to make them kind of thick, because the thin ones are a little bit harder to handle and they can snap pretty easily. But we're going to go ahead and make thin ones today. And you see I'm just pushing the tool in, letting the bevel ride. There we go. Now we're ready for a cool tool. Well, this is a dedicated ring cutter, and it has a curve in it. You do most of the work with this pointy tip that goes behind the rings as you're cutting, like that, to help you separate them off from the wood. Neat thing about this is it's two-sided. You just flip it over and you can do the other side of the ring. Now, if you don't want to spend the money for this, you can do what Bob Fulton did, and he took a couple of Allen wrenches and ground them down into scrapers and then made handles for them. Pretty neat trick. I like that. But let's show you how to use this tool on our project right now. Now, I did go ahead and I sanded the bell and also sanded the top of the ring that we just did, because you have the power of the lathe behind you at that point, and once this ring is separated off, you'd have to sand that by hand. I have my tool rest a little bit above center because this is going to be kind of like a scraping cut. Bring the speed up a bit, and you bring the tool in and angle it down a bit, and you bring that tip in there, and it starts cutting away on the wood. And you just keep working it like this, and you don't want to cut all the way through. You want to go a little bit short of halfway with this right now. Now, from this angle, it's a little bit hard to see, so let me flip this over and show you the other side. Okay, now I'm going to start cutting. You can see the tip there. I'm just pressing in. Tip's doing all the work right now. And by having the tool trailing, it allows it to make a nice cut. Now, as I get in a little bit more on the curve, you can see that this part of the tool is getting ready to touch the sides of the ring, which is good, because if I turn it to the side a little bit, I can have it help me round the ring there. So that's looking good. Okay, keep going in a little bit here. We're getting close. You can hear the wood getting thin, but let me stop this and show you real quick how this is looking. And you can see we almost have a ring perfectly shaped. And I'll just come in here a little bit more, scrape that just a little bit, and hopefully part it off at the same time. Raise this up and clean up that side. Let's see here. There we go. That's a good smooth cut going there. Okay, almost through. Almost. There we go. That's pretty cool, isn't it? One thing I want to do, though, is you want to cut both rings at the same time, get them out of the way. And I don't want this one flopping around too much, because it could start hitting the tool rest and it could break or ding up the ring. So if I get my fingers to work here, we're just grab a little bit of tape. And let's show off my lack of dexterity here. We're going to thread this through. It's always easier said than done. There we go. It's coming through. It's coming through. This looks so well done here. Okay, we got that right there. We're just going to tape it up right here to hold it. I guess actually the easier way of doing that would have been simply to do that. So anyway, now I've got that taped up. I can turn the lathe on, and you see nothing's flopping around, and it's taken care of and held in there nicely. So we'll go back to our tools, and we're going to go ahead and cut that second ring out. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to show you how you work on the rest of the goblet. Okay, you can see I have both rings corralled right now. I've narrowed this down a bit and made a slight dish there, because what we're going to do is take our sandpaper and wrap it around here. And then we're going to take a piece of tape and help hold the sandpaper on there. Now, what I'm doing is building a little sanding disc inside or on the stem here. It'll help me out. Let me just get that far enough away. Now I got to I always make things look a lot more difficult than they really are. Unhook this ring that's on here and corral this, pull that over here. Okay, that tape goes with that. Okay, there. Now this is getting to where I want to be. except I have that piece of tape stuck. Okay, get that piece out. Okay, cool. Okay, now this is on here like it should be. Okay, all you want to do, this is a lot easier than I'm making this look. You start the lathe up, and you're holding this by hand. Okay, guess what? You're sanding now. So if you hold this and just let it spin lightly while you're pushing down, it'll start sanding the inside of that ring. And you angle it, you can get around the curve and do whatever you want, but by pushing down lightly, it'll start spinning on you and it'll get every bit of it. Now, you want to go all the way from about 120 to 400 grit. Ow, 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 ow. And if the tape comes loose, don't worry about it, it doesn't hurt that bad. But since Walnut and I don't get along, I'm going to put on my face mask, my breathing protection, and I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll move on to working on the stem. Okay, let's start her up. Now we're going to start working on the shaft, the stem of our project. I'm going to make a little tiny bead right here. And make another one right here. Or the other side of it, sorry, right there. Now we want to start reducing the wood here. And it's kind of a repetitive process at this point. We just work our way down, and we work our way towards the tail stock, or towards the headstock as we go. And you make the shape any way you want it, as fancy as you want it. No set way of doing it. And you see I'm just working from high to low on this, and I'm not rushing because I don't want to make a mistake at this point. Hear that vibration, by the way? That's why we want to work from this end back, because as we go, we'll get more and more vibration. Okay, bring my tool rest back up. Everything clears. I have my parting tool. We're going to come here and make a couple relief cuts. And part this off. There we go. Now for the next step. We're going to put a finish on our goblet, which is a food-safe finish. A lot of debate in the turning community and woodworking community as what is food safe. Some people say everything is once it's cured. Others say it's not. I'm going to be on the safe side, and we're going to use shellac flakes. Now, shellac flakes, believe it or not, is a resinous substance that comes from the lac bug. Kind of like lac bug poop, but not quite. I think they use it to help hide their larvae and things like that. But this is perfectly natural. You can eat it. It won't hurt you at all. Really, really cool stuff. And now what you have to do with it is you want to take, in the beginning stage, about 1 part to 8 parts of denatured alcohol. So you put that in there, and then you take your denatured alcohol and you put it in like so. Now it can take up to 2 days for this to dissolve in here. And so you can have it in your glass container and come up and shake it a bit and stuff. But you can see there's a lot of solids in there right now, and it takes a while to dissolve. But once it has dissolved, it looks like this. And like I said, I'm doing an 8-to-1 mix right now of shellac is the 1 and denatured alcohol is the 8 to actually give us a thin coat here that we can put on that will really soak into the wood. And we want it to soak into the wood because it will protect it. This is a very, very hard finish once it's done, and very reliable. And if you ever need to reapply it, you just simply wipe on another coat of this. Now it'll take several coats to get this exactly where I want it. You can see how it brings out that walnut. It is gorgeous, isn't it? But this will be food safe. It will be alcohol safe. The only thing you don't want to do is leave the alcohol in this for an hour, a few hours or so, because the solvents in there will start to work away on your finish. Well, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this project, making a captive ring goblet. It's been a lot of fun. It's a neat challenge, and it's something different and unique to do. So until the next time on the Woodturning Workshop, cheers and keep turning. Okay, anytime. know, I just need a little bit of milk. We can make a cake now. Oh, man. The things we do. You got a towel? Thank you. Good. You got any bacon?
You got a lot in your ear.
In my
Other ear.
For more information about the Woodturning Workshop, visit our website at rsupublictv.org.
Okay, let me get this straight. Out of 8 eggs from both of you, I got hit by 2, and these didn't even break. How can you throw an egg and not even break it? Ah.
The Woodturning Workshop is made possible in part by
Woodcraft, since 1928, providing traditional and modern woodworking tools and supplies to generations of craftsmen. Woodcraft, helping you make wood work.
Easy Wood Tools, offering a full line of wood-turning tools with replaceable carbide cutters. To order a DVD of this or any other episode, call 1-800-823-7210 or visit rsupublictv.org.
This week on the Woodturning Workshop, we're going to make a goblet with captive rings. And you want to leave about as smooth surface as possible while doing this. And you make the shape any way you want it, as fancy as you want it. And I did go ahead and I sanded the bell. Well, this goblet is actually a wedding goblet, and these rings have a story behind them. Now for the next step.